Greenland, and we're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor. Anyway, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way.
Imagine this, a massive island, covered in ice, silent, with fewer people than a small city, suddenly becomes the center of global tension. The President of the United States says, "We will take Greenland, the easy way or the hard way." Not a metaphor, not a joke. The threat came from Donald Trump, and the world went quiet. Greenland, a territory under Denmark for centuries, suddenly became the prize in a global power struggle. Not because of its people, not because of tourism, but because of one thing: strategic power. And if Trump truly forces this issue, this isn't just about Greenland. It could mark the beginning of a fracture within NATO itself. The stakes are enormous. If the United States attempts to seize Greenland, NATO could split apart. Europe could confront Washington directly. Russia and China would step in, and the world would enter an era of open Arctic conflict. This isn't a regional dispute. It's about who controls the top of the world. And Trump? He isn't talking about if. He's talking about when. First, let's understand where Greenland is and why it matters. Greenland is the largest island on Earth, about 2.2 million square kilometers, 6 times the size of Germany. But its population, just 56,000 people. Most are Indigenous Inuit communities. Geographically, Greenland sits between North America, the Arctic Ocean, and the strategic routes to Europe. For modern military strategy, this is prime real estate. From Greenland, missiles can be detected earlier, submarines can be tracked, and Russian and Chinese movement in the Arctic can be monitored. That's why the United States has been there for decades. The United States is not a new player in Greenland. Since World War II, the U.S. has operated Pituffik Space Base, formerly Thule Air Base. Its role? Early warning systems for nuclear attacks, ballistic missile monitoring, and strategic Arctic radar. During the Cold War, the U.S. even planned to station nuclear weapons in Greenland. The plan was canceled, not because Greenland wasn't important, but because it was considered too extreme. Now the ice is melting and the Arctic is changing. As Greenland's ice melts due to global warming, something emerges. Vast natural resources, rare earth minerals, uranium, iron, and oil and gas. For the tech and military world, this is a treasure trove. Trump is known for his obsession with strategic resources. We've seen it before in Ukraine. Yet Trump insists, we don't need the minerals, we need Greenland for national security. Then he adds, if we don't take Greenland, Russia or China will. This is Trump's logic, better the US than the enemy. And this is where the tone begins to shift from interest to threat. Greenland is not an empty chessboard. Real people live there. Inuit communities who depend on the sea, on fishing, and on traditions preserved for thousands of years. Most live along the southwest coast near the capital, Nuuk. Greenland's economy relies heavily on fishing and subsidies from Denmark. To many Greenlanders, the idea of being taken over sounds like modern-day colonialism, and they're starting to speak out. The turning point came after U.S. military operations in Venezuela. Soon after, Trump escalated pressure on Greenland. The White House openly stated, military options are being considered. Trump himself said, you don't defend a lease, you defend ownership. Greenland's Prime Minister, Jens Frederik Nielsen, responded immediately, enough, this is fantasy. But Trump didn't back down. Vice President J.D. Vance even visited Greenland, accusing Denmark of failing to protect its own territory. This was no longer diplomacy. This was open pressure. There's one critical fact rarely discussed. Greenland is not a direct member of NATO. It enters NATO through Denmark, which means if the United States attacked Greenland, it would trigger an internal NATO conflict, and that is the alliance's worst nightmare. Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen warned, "If Greenland is taken by force, NATO will collapse." Her statement was backed by the UK, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, and Spain. The message was clear: Greenland does not belong to America. The impact is already visible. European countries have begun deploying troops to Greenland, conducting military exercises, and strengthening their Arctic presence. Denmark and the US met in talks described as tense but constructive. But one thing hasn't changed. The US and Denmark fundamentally disagree. Greenland itself is becoming louder. Polls show most Greenlanders want independence from Denmark, but strongly reject becoming part of the United States. This isn't about choosing a new ruler. It's about self-determination. If Trump forces the issue, the world faces three major risks. 1. NATO could collapse from within. 2. The Arctic could become a militarized conflict zone. 3. Russia and China would exploit Western division. Greenland could become Ukraine of the Arctic, or Taiwan of the North. History teaches us one thing. Major conflicts often begin in places the world once considered empty. Greenland may look quiet, cold, and far from the center of the world, but that's exactly where the future of geopolitics is being decided. Trump sees Greenland as a fortress. Denmark sees it as a home. Greenlanders see it as identity. The real question is no longer, does America want Greenland? But what is the world willing to sacrifice to stop it? Because if Greenland falls into conflict, it won't just be the Arctic ice that cracks. It will be the foundation of the global order itself.